Commissioners. Up first is upcoming regular meeting items, and our first item up is a citizen board interview with Jeannie Siebold, who's come here with Karen Kunneman. And take it away, Karen. Do you want to start this, or are we just going to go right to the interview? We can go right to the interview. Welcome.
Hello. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah.
Some old friends as well.
Thanks for being here. What we typically do is a fairly informal interview, and I will open it up to my fellow board members. Patty has one.
You have a great resume, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Very interesting read.
I used to work really, really hard.
I like the used to. I can't wait till the day I can say I used to work really, really hard. So I'm interested in, you list multiple national council positions in local nonprofits. Can you explain that to me?
So I'm part of the National Council of Jazz Aspen, the music festival. I'm very involved with AEF right now. I'm on the board of directors.
The Education Foundation.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
And I do a lot of the marketing and the website. I write grants for them, and I'm very involved with the schools and the school board. But I'm not going to run for school board. There's no way.
Ah, come on. You can add that to your resume.
Her hobby in addition to all that is she's a pediatric anesthesiologist.
I know, I read her resume carefully. So, and you've talked with Karen, you know the time frame and the amount of meetings, and obviously you're okay with that.
Right.
And your kids are okay with that.
Yes, they are.
It'll be sometimes it's a nice break from
Yes.
other family things to be able to come to a board meeting.
Great.
So thank you for applying. We appreciate people who take the time to want to participate in our appointed boards and commissions. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I just want to be useful if I can be.
Kelly?
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi,
Thank
Kelly.
you for applying.
Thank you.
What do you see as some of the more imperative public health issues in our community?
Well, right now I'm very interested in pediatric issues. So the decreasing vaccination rates is very concerning to me, that we're losing herd immunity. Another thing is the vaping epidemic in the high schools. And I've read about it and I also have a 16-year-old son who is in the 11th grade, and I hear a lot about it from him as well as his friends. So I think that's really something that needs to be addressed, as well as, mental health issues. From a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine in Aspen, just lost her daughter, and she had developed bipolar disease from marijuana use during high school, and she killed herself 2 weeks ago. So I think there are a lot of mental health issues to address, as well as substance abuse in this community.
Yeah, thank you.
So those are my major ones, and they all affect children, and that's where my heart is.
Oh, great. Steve?
Well, have you had any experience in public health issues before?
I haven't. I just I guess directly with individual patients. I used to work in the pain clinic at Stanford Children's Hospital, and we worked with a lot of kids who were detoxing from opioids, and I used a lot of alternative medicine practices to help them, and it seemed to help. So I don't have any public health training, but
You have education. You're
yes.
a teacher. You've taught undergraduates and medical students. So
And I was in charge of
a lot of Board of Public Health is actually having to do with educating the public.
right. I would agree with that. And I was in charge of education for the fellows going through pediatric anesthesia at Stanford as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
George?
Hi. Oh, thank you.
I'm just curious, how did you hear about this opening?
From my friend Greg.
Solicited?
I think it was at a dinner party at Mark Joseph's house.
Oh, great.
For full disclosure, I actually solicited several people, and you were one of the ones who came in. You're the only one, actually, but we'll see if somebody else may show up. But
All right.
That tells you not to go to dinner parties with Greg.
Okay, I'll see who else is showing up.
I see a list of invites and
Yeah, be
invitations.
careful if you sit
Greg's
next to me.
strength, he hits
People-
all of his network up. at
People
some
cross the street when they see me coming.
Other than trying to run you over, I suppose.
That's true. Well, that's next. George, is that all?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, my question was, I was just thinking, when you mentioned, alternative medicine, the board member you'd be replacing is Dr. Chris Miller, who was an emergency room doc, and I know she had some terrible health issues, and so then she went back and got another, I don't know if it's a PhD or a master's degree, at least in nutrition. I think she got another doctorate.
I think she
Because-
went to the Arizona Integrative Health Program.
Oh, so you
right?
know
Yes,
Chris.
it's-
Yeah. So there's kind of some, it might be a nice fit to have somebody who's deeply steeped in medicine, in traditional or whatever whatever our popular medicine would be, and then have alternative, training and background also. And I think, was it acupuncture that you were experimenting
Yeah,
with?
I'm board certified in medical acupuncture.
And that's like dry needling, same sort of thing?
No,
or-
it's acupuncture done by physician
Okay.
versus that if they're also licensed acupuncturists who are not physicians but also certified in acupuncture.
Got it. Okay. And those were for addiction therapies and other and
Addiction,
throat,
mostly pain. It was inside the children's hospital, so I saw a lot of patients for depression and pain, mostly pain issues, and some who are detoxing after big open heart surgeries. They're given a lot of morphine, and it's very hard for them to come off of opioids. As well as we saw a lot of infants in the hospital who were born addicted to opioids because of their moms, and we did a lot of like ear points for them, and they were able to get off morphine much quicker.
So in a world of where we seem to be self-medicating a lot, an alternative to that might really be sounds like a promising
And there are
option.
many studies out that show that ear acupuncture will decrease the recidivism as well as the time to detox.
Wow, it's fascinating. Steve?
I see you did some work in hantavirus.
Yes, in
and
China.
There is actually, hantavirus is prevalent around here. I think it's
In the Four
fairly rare
Corners,
that anybody
yes.
comes down with it, but have you been aware that it is
I was aware
here
that
in the valley?
it's prevalent in the Four Corners states, but it was a little research project that I had done in China, but it sort of ended because I was seeing the way they were analyzing data in China, and it was really odd and sort of unethical, so I dropped everything and came home.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Anyone else have another?
No, I just think it's great that you applied. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question for Karen. So there's one opening right now. If we do adopt the proposed bylaws, then we would have an alternate position also. And I'm thinking we have two people applying at this point, both who seem to be qualified to serve on the Board of Health, have good medical background. I can't remember the way that the bylaws read in terms of the alternate and the regular member. Can you enlighten us a little bit on that?
Sure. Yeah, and so I was going back to do the revision of the bylaws, and so what was recommended the last time I was here was that we went ahead and wrote in an alternate position to the four at-large positions. So we would have one alternate that would be preferable that they would come to all of the meetings, and then they would be in essence, a proxy vote if the regular member, at-large member, or any of the at-large members were unable to attend. So they would fill in for one of those folks. So I do think this is an opportunity to think about that since we have two really wonderful candidates. And
That's a great-
yeah.
They'd be able to, the alternates participate in the conversation.
I'm-
When it comes
I'm
to a
happy
vote, they'll have one vote between the two of them, but would
Right.
that be acceptable to
Yes,
you? if
yes,
you were-
definitely.
We
And
didn't
I
ask the
told
other
Karen.
applicant, but either way would be Thank you for bringing
But
that up.
excuse me, but the alternate is an alternate for all members of the board, not appointed to one specific member. It's so we can always ensure that there's a quorum. I was an alternate on planning and zoning for years, and I'd go to all the meetings because you needed to be up on what the discussions were. And generally, we always used to joke because it was the first X amount who got there first, and the guy who came in last got to be the alternate that day. We kind of switched it around because I was always there early. But, chances are you get to participate, but more often than not, you get to vote. But the main part of it is just being part of the discussion. So that's a great idea, Steve. I didn't even think about that.
And I'm happy to be the alternate, so.
Well, I don't think John, do you know when we're closing applications for this, or?
We generally do not close them until, we've concluded receiving applications and
We have no more at this time, so we can.
No more have come in? Okay.
And when are the
Not that I'm
bylaws
aware
coming back to us?
The bylaws are coming back to you. I haven't scheduled it yet, but I believe the 25th.
And then there's 2 reads on that?
Mm-hmm.
So we can work around that
And
somehow.
this is one single alternate for the entire board. This is not.
Right.
For
Not
the
appointed to
at-large
any-
members,
with the
right.
other boards.
No, it doesn't sit behind one specific.
Got it. So it's a alternate large.
Right, right. And our next Board of Health meeting is October 17th, so if that gives
We
you a
could
little
work that out.
context
That'd
too.
be great to have people on board by then.
We're not
Great.
going to rush into this, but that seems like it might be a great thing.
Timing might be right.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
Really
thank
appreciate it.
Thank you for
you, and it's
applying.
very nice to meet you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
All
Thanks.
right.
Have a great
Okay.
day
This is
out there.
great.
All right,
Have a wonderful afternoon.
okay.
Okay, up next, wow, we're right on schedule. Prep for the quarterly joint meeting with Open Space. Is Open Space coming to this, or is this just?
this is just a time, we generally set time aside for items that you all may want to have addressed in a joint meeting. And so typically, we've got a pretty good agenda set lately with open space and trails. There will likely be both executive and regular meeting times, but we just wanted to make sure if there are any items that staff may not be considering that the board's concerned about, that we capture those before the meeting.
Do we have any items that we know the Open Space and Trails wants to discuss? I mean, that kind of gives me heads up on what their thinking is.
I do not have that.
So we kind of have an open slate other than
Yeah.
executive session, which will be the usual.
Yeah, and there will be updates and such on projects.
Anyone else on that topic? I wanted to bring up the things that have popped into my, hit on my radar in the last couple of months. Most recently is the bear situation. And I had proposed that we bring the woman who did the original, she actually proposed it to me, Sharon Burke-Mordo, who did her PhD thesis for CSU on the bears in Aspen in 2008 and presented them to the city, I think in 2010, on what was happening from the bears. They learned a lot by collaring and tagging. She learned a lot about bear behavior locally and also about human-bear interaction locally. She made a list of suggestions that she presented probably to the city. I don't know if the county saw it back then. And then she just came back a weekend or so ago and just to see what had changed and if anything was different. And she, of course, has another round of suggestions on what we did and didn't do and what could be done.
So I thought you had suggested, which I think we agreed on, is doing a regular work session on the whole
Right.
bear issue.
I'm just wondering if it should be part of an open space discussion because being county and
I
open
think
space
I
being
think it'd
involved-
be better for us to have the discussion since the trash ordinance is ours. It's not associated with open space, but to have it out in the future and invite the Open Space and Trails Board to that, and in city, because I think we need to have the full discussion at a special work session. We just thought the direction.
That sounds good. So we
And
could
invite
certainly
them there.
invite them.
Yeah.
because certainly there's an open space component, but then there are elements that are
We
not.
need to have Kathy Hall because
Right.
the ordinance actually lies in the hands of the landfill.
Right, regarding trash, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, there's just the bear human behavior, so maybe we need to bring, public health in as well or something. The other thing that came up is the North Star Master Plan. I think it's up for review next year,
Yeah, it's in the process of getting
I know
kicked
I've
off.
heard mentioned that we should be getting a jump on that and opening it up a little sooner. Well, that came from, I think, somebody on Open Space suggested that to revisit that would probably be worth talking about. And then the final thing is Rio Grande Trail discussion. I know that's going to come up regarding improvements to the Rio Grande Trail with interpretive signage and possible watering stations and possible picnic tables and outhouses and things like that. And I know that that's a point of concern for a lot of people in the valley, and so that would be on my list to discuss as well.
And Kelly has some.
Oh, Kelly, sorry.
Sure. I would like to hear an update on any further collaboration between the Open Space Board and the Healthy Rivers Board as a result of their, I think, May meeting.
Their joint meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, we never heard about that. And I think we have a meeting coming up with Healthy Rivers and Streams too, don't we, John?
Yes, I do not believe it's been scheduled yet.
But
I
we've been
think.
talking about having one for a while, so we need
Correct,
to get that
yeah.
scheduled. But that would,
Great idea.
yeah,
While you're on the topic, that brings up Healthy Rivers and Open Space and Phillips as part of our Phillips discussion. We, all through the entire thing, we've talked about involving open space and Healthy Rivers and facets of the Phillips, mobile home park. Is this the time?
The timing on that we would recommend as staff is for the board to kind of conclude your planning exercise, since it was purchased with affordable housing dollars. And then as there are properties that may be appropriate for either Healthy Rivers or Streams or open space to consider, then you can look at those separately. But we saw that as being sequential, that you need to figure out where the housing is going to go, and then what you want to do with the remaining land that would not be developed.
My only concern with that would be if we choose a site plan, say, and then open space comes in after the fact and says, hey, wait a minute, that's a prime, or Rivers says that's wetland. I'm trying to get an anticipation of what their recommendation would be.
Staffs are definitely involved. Yeah,
Okay, so
on
maybe
those.
that's the assurance we need.
And
then.
we are well aware of the interest from Healthy Rivers and Streams as well as open space, and in the plan we'll be able to bring that forward. But we thought it was important to conclude the affordable housing discussion and then kind of
Go the
address
next
the
step.
Right there and
issues
then go
about
from
whether
there.
the other advisory boards have an interest. But
So-
Healthy Rivers and Streams, for example, is very much expressed an interest on some of the riparian areas along the river.
and I'm sure that part of the updates will include what's happening in the Crystal River Valley, as far as the next steps with NEPA, what's going on at the first phase of the trail connection from Redstone up, and then whatever's going on with the biodiversity study. I'd just like to make sure we have we were so involved in that, and then it's been so quiet, that I'd like to just make sure they include that in their updates.
Yeah, great idea to involve the biodiversity study.
Yeah.
We haven't heard anything lately. And then getting back, just so people understand, the planning process for Phillips isn't going to be closed before Open Space and Healthy Rivers weigh in. Though, of course, we're going to be working with them before the whole thing ends.
Oh, absolutely. There's definitely discussion going on while we're, but it would be premature, I think, at this point to make a commitment until this board has made a decision what you're doing with the property from the housing fund perspective. And then
Just
to
the
involve
basics, and
boards.
then we can,
Yeah, got it. Great. Steve?
There's been publicity lately about a study of the effect of trails on elk population. And I would like to learn more about that and learn from Open Space if there's any changes we should be considering on our local trails just to help the elk population.
I think that's part of the overall, is it the Heritage Fund, the Heritage? What
The
is that?
biodiversity study.
Yeah,
That's probably as a
Mark
component.
Udo, Tom Cardamone's,
Right.
Tom Gardeman, yeah.
Right.
what's its formal name?
Watershed Biodiversity.
No, what's the name of the organization?
Watershed Biodiversity.
That's a really
No,
great.
it's the Heritage something.
That is the
Colorado Natural Heritage Program.
Right, right.
At CSU.
Right, that's the
That's the
organization.
department at CSU, and we signed the contract.
Yeah,
a
I
few
think
weeks-
they're
yeah.
including that, the trails and recreation as part of their biodiversity study, so I think that's part of that. And then, but what might be interesting, Steve, as far as the elk, is to find out if anybody knows about the Forest Service project on the elk. You know, the tagging of the moms and where they're calving, et cetera, and how that went. I don't know if that's part of this
The
discussion.
helicopter tagging.
Yeah, that might be
Yeah.
more a Forest Service discussion, George, you think, rather than open space?
Yeah, I don't think it's open space.
Yeah, okay.
The
Need an
last
update
thing
on that,
regarding open space is there was an article in the paper maybe yesterday about how the Yampa River put on temperature restrictions on their popular water through this town of Steamboat, and they actually shut it down voluntarily. And I just forwarded that to Gary Tenenbaum, and he said, well, we actually do that also. And I thought, wow, I didn't realize this, but if
Did
the
it
water,
last year.
yeah, the water temperature hits a certain temperature, and it did recently, they can close access through North Star regarding water temperature and flow regimes, I guess. It'd be nice to have an understanding of that, because that's the first I'd heard of it happening here, or maybe I just needed to be reminded.
They did it last year, but mostly it was just for the anglers, more than for recreational
It's,
raptors.
it's for anglers,
Just
yeah.
for anglers, and most of that was voluntary by the angling guides, the fly fishing guides, who then encouraged the non, people who were fishing on their own to also follow those. And it was really upheld down lower on the river in Glenwood Springs by that new confluence. They had signage up there, and people were really respectful of that. It was really much
Frying
appreciated.
pan also, maybe.
Yeah, frying pan was definitely part of it.
Yeah. Great. That's all I can think of.
It's quite a bit.
Yeah, I think
Well,
we started it out.
We may overlap, hopefully, so.
From there. Okay. All
Future
right.
agendas?
I think future agenda calendars is up next, unless there's anything else in our joint meeting.
Yeah, so just a few things to note for the board. 3 of you have indicated you'll be at the childcare meeting later this week on the 5th. Just so you know, we've updated the agenda so that.
So it's at 11:30, right, Kelly? Yeah. At the library?
The city of Aspen proposed a joint meeting, which
election
would
day.
normally be on our, work session day on the 5th. We've responded to see if there would be any possibility of moving that to the 7th, or we'll probably find another day. I'm assuming the board does not want to do a joint meeting on election day.
We don't have a regular meeting that day, do we? Did we?
No,
cancel
we
that?
moved it to the 7th.
So it would mean everybody gets to come up here just for the joint meeting with the city, which of
Correct.
course would be fine for me, but we may be still actively working on, which we can do, on our ballot question about tobacco. So I don't know how the board feels, but
We'll
I'm
keep
good
working
either
with
way.
them to move it unless I hear another.
I had noticed that. I was wondering if we were actually gonna meet then. I think we should change the date.
Okay, we'll work with the city on that.
I've offered myself on call to the clerk's office. I don't know if
That's
they'll
right.
Yeah.
We might
take me
lose
up on it.
Kelly if something.
well, and I'll
comes
probably
down.
be doing the same, so.
Okay, that's good.
As has already been noted, I think by Steve, Eagle County is having an ice cream social at June Community Park in Blue Lake on Wednesday, September 11th from 4 to 6. You guys do have a regular meeting that day, so I am doubtful that we're going to be out in time. But just wanted to make you aware, an invitation did go out. We will respond letting them know it's a regular meeting day and that you may or may not make it out.
I may, but I can't guarantee that I'll go down for that, but since I won't be participating at the end of your day. But speaking of the 11th, real quick, I did ask that the GMQS, even though it's a no board action, if that get moved up so I can still participate. And that's, there's a possibility of the dates for the GMQS are gonna change anyway. I just talked to Suzanne Wolf earlier today, so, just so I didn't get to hang out for 3 or 4 hours waiting for you
I
guys.
think the September 11th agenda's in flux at this
It
point. So
is
still,
kind
so
of,
we'll,
yeah.
we'll get it solidified.
And then you guys saw an email probably from the fire district chair seeking a joint meeting. We think it's important that the sheriff be able to attend that, and he is going to be gone for a little bit. So right now we're looking at September 17th at the end of the day, or October 22nd.
I'd really want to do it when Joey's here.
So,
Yeah.
John, I'm a little confused of why we're meeting with, I know it was request from the board, from the fire department, but it seems like we should have a discussion here prior to that, because we've had these requests in the past, and the fire department doesn't seem to understand or accept the solutions or the.
Yeah.
So
No, this has been a long-standing issue, and so we'll definitely have some prep time, both probably some in terms of advice from the attorney, and also we'll want to schedule some work session time with you guys ahead of
That's a
that,
great
so you
idea.
can go
Yeah, all right.
prepared. There are really two issues, I think, that I'm aware of right now that would be the topic of discussion. One is the board's authority to issue fire bans and prohibit fireworks. And then the other is a memorandum of agreement around response cooperation during airport events. We've reached an agreement with all the fire districts, with the exception of Aspen, on a few issues.
Yeah, so again, I think it's important to have an update from our attorney, maybe the sheriff, because otherwise we're just spinning.
No, I agree, and we'll schedule a time for both of those. So if you're okay, we'll go ahead and look at both of those dates, and when we can fit some prep time in, I will recheck with Joe DeSalvo to be sure he can be at that meeting.
And one more thing. At some point, I'd like to discuss just a communication process with the fire district board. Seem to have had a breakdown in that. There seems to be people talking from what they think the county has said that the county hasn't said, and I think that's creating a lot of the confusion. And I don't know if we can find a way to better communicate with the fire department, maybe as part of this meeting, but maybe we can have some suggestions from you as to, I don't know, I think it's creating its own quagmire, and I'd like to avoid that in the future.
Good point. I think that's the provenance of the meeting, is that.
Yeah.
Let's clear
We
some
may
of
want
this
to
up.
discuss it before we get there.
Okay. What else we got? Anything else on our?
John covered mine too.
Let's see. And I got Patty, September 11th, making sure we get SKICO last. That's all I had.
I'm anticipating, and I don't know if we can put this on an agenda, but we probably should. Basalt declared a climate emergency recently. I'm anticipating we're going to be asked to do the same thing, or propose it, and the city of Aspen as well. I don't know enough about that to know what it actually means and what it would entail and what it implies. The other thing I know is that there's going to be the global climate strike on the 20th, and my guess is we're going to have people talking about that before us at some point. And it'd just be great to have a heads up. Maybe this is just a staff memo that perhaps we had to be prepared when these things happen, and I'm looking forward to that conversation. And I'm not going to suggest a date for it. Maybe the 11th would be our next best date.
At a regular meeting?
Is that a work session day?
No, 11th
That's
is
the
a
regular meeting. Not sure. We'll see. But anyway, I wanted to give you a heads up that that's what I've been thinking about and should put it out there.
Can I ask, have you two that do our climate action, have you guys heard anything about any of this, that this climate strike or this climate emergency that Basalt has declared, or?
Yeah, I hadn't heard anything from CC4CA, but I think I'll go back and look through the emails and see maybe there was something that I'm
Are they involved in
missing.
any of these organizations, Basalt? Do they have any
Basalt is, yeah.
Oh, so that's interesting that they would be doing something that hadn't come maybe through CC4CA.
Yeah, Boulder County and Boulder City and Basalt are all,
Yeah, it's not,
have
it's
done
not
that.
that unusual. I mean, there are so many organizations with their fingers in the climate pie, you know,
Yeah.
that, you know, that they just come up from different angles of
So it'd be
interest, I
interesting
think.
if we had a united effort.
Yeah.
Truly, yeah. Thank
I'll
you.
check in with Basalt and just
Yeah,
see
find
what
out
the
what they're-
Providence was and, you know, if and where that ask came from. I really do not have any idea.
I was thinking, I read the article in the paper that it was Auden, maybe Auden Schindler had proposed it.
Actually,
but-
Katie proposed
Or was
it.
it Katie? Katie, thank you. Yeah, maybe it was Katie. Yeah, in fact, it was, now that so it'd be great to learn more, and I don't know more than that, but I'll dig into it as well. Okay, moving on, I think we ready for Jody? Anything else from you, John?
Is Jody ready for
Is
us?
Jody ready for us? It looks like she's here and ready to go.
Boy, a slideshow. Get out the popcorn.
I know. Why is it we're always nervous the thing's going to work? You think that it would be easier, and often it does. You're on top of it, so.
Oh, that's a scary thought.
That's scary if I'm, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Jody Smith, Facilities Director for the county, and I am presenting today, giving you all an update on the courthouse project is what the agenda item summary said, or the agenda says. However, I have two projects in process and we have a third one coming on. And so I thought that with your approval, I would like to give you kind of some high-level updates on all three.
Great.
I changed the title to Renovation Projects. Today I'd like to give you an update of where we are on the courthouse project and the Health and Human Services, Public Health and Human Services renovation, and then the jail basement secure area project. So, the newspaper this morning said we were going to be starting on Wednesday. We have a little snag in the start date. Our permits are super close to being issued, but we really can't do any work until it's actually issued. So we're expecting the permit to come on this week, but hopefully, given that we don't have any other rounds of questions from city staff, but we feel really confident. It's been a really smooth process with the city, this project, and but we were delayed in getting them some answers, so it wasn't any fault of anybody. It was just kind of what happened. So just to point out that the west side of, well, it's really the south side of north side of the courthouse, between the jail, the courthouse, and this building, you'll see the FCI construction trailer there and some dumpsters. As soon as we get our permit, that fence will come all the way out to the edge of the sidewalk here, and most of that will be covered then. There will be safe access for public to still go in that back entrance, along with transporting the jailers who are escorting people to the courts. So all of that is in play. We just can't quite get there yet. And then, of course, everything is moving forward. I think we feel really good about the project. We have a really good, strong team as far as FCI and our on-site superintendent. He's been walking the building, doing all of the existing conditions documentation. We meet almost every day to talk about, well, what about this? What about that? So, but we'll see. We are going to start on the front side, south side, and in the interior on the garden level and the main level. So those are the three places that you're going to see impacts. There will be safety corridors built so that people really get funneled where they need to go. for safety and the ability for them to do the construction during that time. And then our projected dates will be that sometime in late December, probably more closer to January, we'll flip. We'll move the courts downstairs to their new permanent space, and then we'll go upstairs. We'll have to do some abatement, and then they'll start on the upstairs, and hopefully we'll be out of there by July-ish. So it'll be fast and furious. Our biggest concern is noise impacts and delays from courts being in session. We are a fully occupied building for the court, so we're going to do our best. We do have a weekly meeting with the design team, and the court staff are on that. We'll be talking every week about what's coming up, so we can do the noisy stuff before or after hours, or kind of work around those courts so that we don't impact them, but we still are able to move forward. So.
Great. So the entire time you're thinking it starts sometime later this week, perhaps, and goes until July for the entire project.
Yeah, we actually had to pull off the contractors this week because they would just be sitting here waiting.
Right.
So nothing will really happen today except for they are staging inside of the old communication center, which is now, we call that the jail annex. So they've got all their equipment, computers and desks and plans, and they're building tables and getting ready to start the work. If we do magically get a permit, they'll start to tear this fence down and get it relocated. That'll be one of the first things. Okay.
Right.
That's a great picture of the
Thank
interior.
you. Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah,
I like
nice
that
photo.
too. The next project that we have going is the Health and Human Services renovation. You can see here that this was actually 2 suites on the left-hand side there. We got rid of one exterior door and one interior hallway door, so we have one entryway into that suite, and then you can see we have offices and a reception area in order for the public health and human services staff to occupy that space. The intent is once the public health staff, particularly Karen and her assistant, will move downstairs, and then I believe that environmental health from the admin building will also be then relocating to the Health and Human Services building. They'll be going upstairs where Karen's office is now. So there's a lot of movement around there, but you can see that's where we're working. We've also moved the hallway doors where that 03 is, and then we've created an ADA shower room. We took away the bathroom for conference room 3. That was a very tiny restroom, not really used probably as well as it could be. So we took that away. We made the ADA shower and created a designated bathroom, shower room for the day center. So they will be going in from the day center side. And then we had to relocate the washer and dryer, so that has been designed in there too. And then just to give you a couple of kind of what we've had to do is combine 2 suites, create this shower room, and then relocate the hallway doors. And you can see we actually moved the day center across the hallway. So they're in a very tiny room with 3 couches, and they come over to the other side where we're doing the construction and have their meals. And you can see here, this is on the left-hand side is the bathroom, the shower room. So it's quite a difference from what they've been dealing with over all these years. And then we've framed in a small laundry room there. And then this is the construction. You can see right next to the open door there, they've closed in that other door. It was really, if you recall, we had a daycare center back in the day, and we had various exits for that function, and they're no longer needed. So we started August 1st. Our intent is to get that shower room and the conference room 3 opened up sooner than October 24th. We had actually the tile guy worked all weekend this weekend to get the tile in, so that we can get those opened up and functional. And then we will be moving public health, environmental health, and human services out of their temporary locations and back into the spaces within the building on the 24th. So by the end of the month, they'll be in. You can see we have the zippered
Right.
plastic.
Questions on this? Anyone? I had a question. Sorry, going back to the courthouse renovation.
You bet.
Patty remarked at that beautiful photo of the interior. And I was wondering, do we have good documentation of the interiors of the courthouse and exterior before the changes? Do we have a good archive of quality photography just to show what it was like before?
Before we put a door in the front of the building, you mean?
Yes. I think that would be useful if there's still time, just to make sure we have good evidence of what things looked like before, because you never know what might change down the road. Just something would be useful for the archive, for the historical people.
We can certainly make sure, and I know FCI has been taking a ton of photos, but I might work with Pat or somebody to.
Yeah, it'd be
see if
great to
we
get
can
some
That would
quality.
be really a good thing to do.
Okay, that
Just so
sounds
people
great.
know, so what happened, what did you change? We've got the photos.
Well, I think you're going to be surprised. It's not going to look that much different in this grand entryway, except for the equipment in the middle.
Right.
What's really different is those hardwood floors. You can kind of see where
The carpet was.
where the carpet was anyway, because
Right.
we had one colored carpet patch that went all the way down, and then we had a different on the sides when you pulled that up. And we're going to stick with the carpet runner that will go all the way down, but we'll still have the nice wood on the edges.
Great.
And that will be on both the main level and the upper floors. And we're still kind of determining what that width needs to be. And
I
what
want to
the
make sure it
actual
still
carpet's gonna be.
creaks. It's really cool when you walk
It's really
across it.
creaky.
It's really creaky.
Okay, thanks. Sorry to go back.
No, this is exciting stuff.
It's very exciting. Good job.
And then the last project that I didn't really take any pictures of because there isn't really anything to take photos of yet is the jail vehicle evidence storage. We went out to contract and did a design build on that. The design is done. The electrical engineer is just finishing up the final touches, and we'll be going into permit hopefully this week. And hopefully we'll turn that permit around within the next 6 weeks and get started. My goal is still to be out of there and done by the end of the year. So we'll have pretty much all three of these done, at least phase one of the courthouse done by the first of the year.
Great. Then you can take a vacation, right? Isn't that
Thailand,
hopefully that's the
right?
plan.
Wait, she just got back from the beach not too long ago, I think.
Well,
Any questions, clarifications, anything you'd like to see next time?
Well, we need to start planning another big project so we can keep you busy.
We're plenty busy. Wait till we meet for budget.
I was going to ask if you would just bring in like a torso of the Justice statue, and we could then hang different colored blindfolds on her.
Oh, that would
just
be
for
funny,
fun
wouldn't it?
someday.
We're not
All
blindfolding.
that, pink, watermelons, things like that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
We'll need a majority of the board before you do that.
Okay. Understood.
What does the chair get to do?
Not run the,
I was going to go start shopping for blindfolds. Okay, ambulance building project update. Here comes the next.
we're done.
Yeah.
We're approaching doneness. All right,
See.
welcome.
Good segue. You got Jody starting and us finishing, so this works pretty well. Let me pull up this last.
This is Gabe Muthing.
Yes,
Thank
Rich
you.
Engelhardt and Gabe. I'm the deputy county manager, and
the Aspen Ambulance District Manager.
so what we have in front of you is not the normal PowerPoint, but I just wanted to show you the very last kind of update that we received from FCI. So As we mentioned, we are finishing up. There are just a few little items left that are being taken care of, and Gabe can talk more specifically about those because I believe his crew is on the move. So we were able to get our CO formally getting it today. They gave us a verbal over the weekend that we could go forward with it. We are still a little bit shy on a couple things on the irrigation side is all, trying to get that wrapped up. And but other than that, it was a scramble at the end to get it closed out, as these normally are. But we are really pleased to let you know that this building is really something you can be proud of. We do have the grand opening on next Monday, and if you hadn't had a chance to walk through it yet, I'll show you a few pictures here in a second, but I think you're going to be really proud of what you've provided our first responders. So, but Gabe, I'll let you chat a little bit, and then I'll just run them through this. And
Sure. So the last couple of weeks, we've just been kind of finishing up the final details, doing final clean, working through all those little punch list pieces. But along with FCI and our group, we've certainly done a great job of getting that done. And then I am proud to say that we are moving in today. So our crew has been working all morning to move all of our equipment over and get everything put in there. So I'm just really excited. Our crew, this was the first time I think I've ever put out a request for a crew help, and everybody came. I think they're just thoroughly excited to be there. It looks great. It feels great. It's been long, certainly a long journey to get to this point, but today was just an amazing day for sure.
So the biggest question I have is, do the buses fit in the barn?
With
one last
plenty
shot at
of room, yes.
the barn.
Yay.
The barn is the old facility.
I was going to say, and it
It's
absolutely
it's
fits
an ambulance,
that
but the
term.
buses have to fit in the barn.
They do, and they fit quite well. It's been fun to, we had to do some striping on the floor to show where the ambulances go and to help them with packing, and putting them in for the first time was
Yay.
certainly an amazing experience for sure. So,
They fit.
so yes, they fit very well.
Excellent.
So I'll run you through a couple of these photos. The first one that you see there is the sidewalk that goes up the back side of the facility that eventually leads up to detox. And this is part of the contribution that came from the general fund to this project. We had to go in and completely take that to an ADA accessible ramp, which was quite an expense, and then doing the landscaping on the backside, not to mention the handrails. Those are all metal handrails that run up the side of that to make that ADA. So
And those are those new trees I see there?
yes, on the, yeah,
Wait to
those
see
are all
that.
new along the edge, yeah. And then this next photo is at least two of them. You got the one in the entryway, and you can see that has all been planted now in some low shrubbery. We're working on getting a light placed towards the sign itself. We're experimenting a little bit with either solar. We'll go ahead and hardwire that. But the flag pulls up, and I think Gabe said he put a flag up
Put
today.
the flag
so,
up today.
Yay.
yeah. The other is kind of looking off the backside of the building towards the residential area up there, and that's a new landscaping. And there's a similar wall. In fact, I think it's in here where the steps come down off. That we've just gotten a price to extend some of the wooden fence along there, just as additional protection. People walking off the backside don't happen to step off that rather large wall.
Is the plantings along the backside and the other ones, they're well irrigated where we know, I just want to make sure that if there were stipulations from the neighbors or whatever regarding how much foliage, and that we're really on top of that. So a few years down the road, if the trees die or something, we're on top of replacing and keeping that.
Yes.
Great.
The picture on the left is a training room, and that is desks now and has shades that can be pulled down for training. And again, the ambulances and the first responding, vehicles park right in that area. So Gabe has set out some blocks so that if they do get a little bit of a run at it, they stop short of the windows. A little bit of safety measure.
Smart.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah.
It should be noted that room is available for scheduling with county staff also in the HHS.
And it really turned into a beautiful room. If you remember, one of the design features of that was, there's nothing worse than sitting in a conference room that feels like a cave all day long. And so with, plenty of natural light and ability to, close those shades should you need, but just a,
That's a
beautiful
good idea.
room. Yeah, it
What
was
is
really,
the capacity of that room?
51, funny enough, because we looked at it today, is the max occupancy. But with desks in there, we're able to seat 30 people at desks. So it's perfect classroom size for us.
Picture the fitness center, and that's one thing you always want is whenever you do need their services, you're hoping they're fit and be able to pick you up. So we've provided that opportunity as well.
Just
Rather
a
than just
note
ask
on
the
that.
patient, "Could you jump on the gurney for me?"
Yeah.
That will also be available to our deputies.
That was one of the nice partners. We had a lot of partnerships, and that's one that John certainly had us sit down and walk through with the sheriff's department and talked about different ways that we could utilize these together. So it was just excellent. This is just an inside of one of the rooms. This is the only one that has the industrial look to it. Some like it, some maybe not, but it's just the structural beam
like
that's on the inside of there that's painted and becomes part of the wall.
It's not yellow and black. Doesn't look like a nuclear.
Here's some of the pictures of the interior port of it.
Put
And this
wrist
is
and ankle restraints on that.
Yeah,
thing, just
there
to
you
give people a
Yeah.
rise.
We'll finish your reports. Yes.
I'm afraid we
Crazy mood today.
did glaze out the windows and look into that room. So this is the entry in, and the wood that you see that goes all the way around on all four sides of the center portion of this part of the building. Inside of that is where the mechanical unit's set, and that was one of the conditions that we had worked with the neighbors and said we'll do what we can do to make sure we don't put stuff on top. And ironically enough, we put it inside and it really is quiet. When it's running, you can't hear it in there.
absolutely
So
quiet.
we were a little bit concerned about interior noise. But
I forgot to mention blue stained wood on that one.
yeah, and then that's a table here. Gabe had worked with a local.
We found
Gentlemen.
an amazing local craftsman that builds a lot of wood projects like this. But one of the great things about it is part of our staff got to go over and help him build this, which was an amazing experience in itself. And then you can't quite see it in the picture, but it has our emblem in the middle of it.
Oh, nice.
And just an amazing, table for us to call home. So
Right. Is the craftsman going to be there for the
he
opening?
is. He is.
Excellent. Can't
Really
wait to
excited that he'll be there.
learn about that.
Workstations.
And then the last picture we have is just of the report writing room in the library there that is set up for Gabe's staff to, after they come in, they can fill out their reports and utilize that room. It's a nice sized room. It's open, has computers on three sides. So what to expect over the next few weeks is that we've got one more meeting, one OAC, the type that Jody mentioned, that you have on a weekly basis with the owner, the architect, and the contractor. We call them OAC meetings. We have one of those tomorrow. To kind of wrap up everything, we are now asking, we're going to advertise to release liens on the project. I just got a note that we are up and running with our solar, and it's spinning backwards right now, which is putting it into the grid, any of that excess. So that was a nice thing. We ended up getting our rebate of $25,000 for that, and we still need to get ours from CORE, and that's in the process as well, getting that grant. So that was a great investment, and it
What was
really
the
will
size-
save us.
Size of that solar, remember?
We have 85 solar panels on the
85
roof.
panels. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're looking at
And once those get up
24.
and running, we'll have my understanding is we'll have an app that will give us all the information as to
Right.
how much we're actually producing. And
That's kind of fun,
Yeah.
yeah.
really
See that.
excited.
Yeah.
Will it feed back into our monitor out here like our other outbuildings do with our solar?
Great
I
question.
don't know, we'll tie it into
See if-
that.
I bet we probably can.
We can, Jody's been working on trying to get that reported, and we can see if that can tie in.
It'd be great.
It'll be,
To have our
I'm sure
our whole contingency of solar that we have within the county now, where you can pull up on that monitor would be
Great to know
great.
what we're selling back to the
Yeah.
utility, yeah.
and we'll definitely get you on the website so that you guys can see it as well. It really is a nice reporting system that shows the usage, real time.
Right,
So-
yeah, great. I did have a question.
But Jody, did you have something to add to that? No?
Solar was one, thanks for that. It's online and it's working already, that's great to hear. It's funny, I was talking to a friend yesterday who discovered years ago when she was visiting the school that the heat tape on the roof of the school happened to be on in the summertime. Like maybe the switch had been flipped the wrong way, or somebody forgot, or whatever. And I was just wondering, is there heat tape on this building?
There is not.
Okay, I was
There's
thinking,
not.
why would there be, but just thought I'd ask.
Yep, the slope of the roof and the angle of it, we really shouldn't get a huge amount of snow
You don't
load
need
there,
it.
so.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where often you'd be surprised how often it gets left on, and it's a huge energy suck. That's why it's really discouraging when you discover your heat tapes on in August. Now the last thing is the access, come and go. You mentioned lanes. I don't know if that's the road lanes, but how this facility is already up and working. I assume they're making calls out of there now. Is that right?
They are,
And
yes.
so the stop signs and the striping or whatever has to be done it's working with the neighbor. I know those were concerns that, is this going to increase traffic or increase risk or danger?
Right, no, everything is up and running. All the signs are up that are needed. We'll certainly keep an eye on that now that it truly is open and watch traffic flows and whatnot. But it really doesn't change our traffic flow from our old building. It just moves us down the road just a few hundred feet.
So the
not much.
intersection's the same.
It is.
As it
It
ever
is.
was.
We did. I think during the project we added, a couple of signs to help slow traffic through that intersection there, which needed to happen regardless of the building. But it's worked fairly well. We're actually happy with it, and I've heard some good feedback from the HHS building as well. So I'm happy to hear
I'm
that.
also wondering, what's your second floor view of the heliport look like?
I got to tell you, it's an amazing view of everything up there. We have a great view of the helipad. We have a great view of all the landing zones for the paragliders. So it's turned out to be a beautiful view.
You can watch
Put my
the,
office
for
on the
crash
wrong side.
landings.
I'm on the backside, so
Rethink that. So, no, Gabe. The only outstanding issue right now is on that exterior stairs that are coming down that lead up to that trail. By code, the gap is pretty narrow. Gabe and I are a little concerned about wintertime and what that may look like unless we can put some maybe heat tape or something underneath or something. I don't know.
Back to it, yeah.
We're gonna add the heat tape. Set it on the building, we'll put it on the stairs or
And
something.
put on a timer so it goes off in the summer.
Yeah.
It would show up on the core panel.
Yeah, it
That's
would.
it. Yeah, if it shows up on then just so we're aware of that stuff.
But we're working through that now. We're seeing if there truly are some other options out there, but it's a pretty narrow gap by code, and we may not be able to, but.
So one last major thing. We're having an open party, a celebration on Monday, and this coming Monday, September the 9th at 5 p.m. And I know that all the neighbors got hand-delivered invitations because we want to thank them for their patience, their assistance, their being part of this building, and we want to let them know that it's done.
Yes, I'm so glad you mentioned that. The neighbors have been amazing through this, right? They have been subjected to construction projects for years now, but they have been absolutely amazing and good partners in this, which is
wanna
really,
thank them.
I'm proud to say that, right? That we've really enjoyed their feedback. We've really enjoyed working with them. The HOA presidents have come over and talked to us on a regular basis. Really, I'm proud that we were able
Hope
to
they
work
all
with them.
are able to attend because
Oh, I
it'd be
hope
nice
so.
to
I hope so.
be able to tour the building with them. I'm excited. Thank you guys very
Really
much.
good.
I had one comment too. Is I wanted to thank Gabe. He has really worked with my staff to ensure that we're trained along with FCI and Rich to make sure that we have the opportunity to be trained and exposed to all of the new equipment. Something that's different for us is that we are taking over managing and operating this building on behalf of the ambulance district. So it's exciting. We still have some interactions with AVH in that partnership, but we're taking on a different role with this building and, working on budgets together and operations and contracts, whatever we're gonna need for the future. And then the question that you asked about the future of the trees and all of that, the one thing that we do, we're pretty diligent about it, is we do an FCI 11-month walk. So 11 months from now, we'll do a walk, and we make a list of everything. And we just did ours out here, and they had their guy come over and place any trees and plantings that didn't survive over the winter. No questions asked. So I feel really, really confident that they'll take care of the grounds and anything else, which has been our experience in other projects that they've done for us.
That's great. You're setting a really good standard
Yeah.
by doing that.
They've been great partners, FCI, and are still great partners.
I have a question for Jody and maybe for Patty. I wanted to know what happened to our burdock plant that was out there in the planter. It disappeared. Out here where our sign is.
Oh, I don't know.
Did you take it?
No.
So maybe
Do I look guilty of taking
who
it?
does the gardening like on the little planter around the sign out here?
But a plant has disappeared from the.
Well, no,
don't
it's
know what a burdock
noxious
plant
weed,
is.
though.
It's a noxious weed.
I've actually been weeding
start
the non-noxious, but the weeds that are out there, along with the dandelions that have been out there. And I've also been helping staff stake the roses that all survived.
They did.
But no, Steve, I did not take your
I was just
noxious weed
picturing
of choice.
Patty coming in on the weekend with a shovel and digging it up.
I've been close on a few other things, but no, somebody beat me to though, and I think it
I'll
was the
look into
maintenance
it.
guy.
Do us a favor, if you see her digging up that time capsule, let us know.
I'm going for that.
Hands off
with
the time
Steve, it's
capsule.
in there.
You have to wait 100 years and then you're allowed to.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's it then. Thank
Right,
you very
thank you,
much.
guys.
Okay,
Thanks for
thank you.
coming.
I'm gonna step out for a second, because I have a question for Gabe before, it's not related to this, but.
Got it. Well, let's see, board open discussion is, so. I'll be-
Yeah,
I'll
just
be-
have a
yeah.
couple items. So Ellen is here to share the link for the basalt planning survey. Is that right, Ellen?
Right.
Right, and let's see.
Get you set up here. I'll tell you what, you get yourself set up and I'll set up the Elmo for you.
Perfect, thank you. So yeah, Ellen Sassano, Long Range Planner, and I am coming back to you with more information on the planning effort that's underway with the town of Basalt for the Highway 82 corridor between this side of Basalt and the old Snowmass Conoco. We're looking at, sorry?
No, you keep going.
Coming?
She's-
So we're looking at pulling together a master plan strategy for that area. We haven't really dialed that in yet, but we will be looking.
Sorry, he just wanted to put it on this monitor as well.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm way behind.
Are we all there?
We're all there, but.
Yeah. So,
Just waiting for John, you know.
jeez,
The
it's
AV
hard to
guys.
get good
The AV
phone these
guys.
days, isn't it? Yeah. So we're looking at pulling together a master plan strategy for that area, and we are at
Thank
the
you.
very beginning of a public outreach effort and welcome input from the general public regarding what's working and or not working there in terms of land use, access to and from the highway, access to transit, access to river, trails, open space, etc. We had one open house last week down at the Basalt Library, which was very well attended, much appreciated for all those who came. And there is an online survey, and we'd love to get more public feedback. And for those of you who like to communicate via survey, the survey link is on the screen there. And let's see, there we go. So please do participate. If you have any interest, you can participate via the online survey link here, or if you prefer to speak with me, Ellen Sassano, or Cindy Hubin. We are both available. Our email addresses are up on the screen as well, and or give us a call. So,
It's funny, it looks like Let's Stalk.
I saw
Basalt.
that too. I thought, I'm not gonna say.
you know, no.
It's
Yeah, let's
Let's
not
Talk.
stalk, but
Not stock.
let's talk. I hadn't noticed that. Patty, I'm not sure if that's a good thing that's where your mind went.
They won't forget it. They will not forget the web
Well, but
address.
I do
Let's
have a
talk
question.
basalt.net.
Yes.
Have we noticed the appropriate caucuses of this action that the county is pursuing?
You know, that's an excellent question, and we have not reached out to caucuses. This area lies outside of all of the caucus
Right.
areas, but it is adjacent to, you can't see this on the screen, but you've got the Woody Creek Caucus
And Emma?
on the right, and you've got the Emma Caucus basically on the left lower portion of the screen. And so we will, thank you for that, we will inform them. As I said, we're at the very beginning stages, and we're going to reach out to a lot of people, and we'll add them to the list. Yeah, they because this area is more urban and along the highway, it didn't really feel to either of those caucuses as though it made sense for their master plans to address it. So,
It's just, yeah, give them the information opportunity to weigh in whatever way they choose.
great idea, thank you. Yes, we will do that.
Be sure to include the Snowmass Capitol Creek Caucus.
Of course, yes, thanks.
And our caucus has been cleaning up 1 mile of that stretch of highway too for 2 years running now.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's a great community service.
I wanted to ask how many miles is this? This is actually a fairly significant stretch along the valley. And does it extend to just the west end of Holland Hills, northwest end of Holland Hills, or does it go all the way into the town of Basalt? Where's the town
It
of
goes
Basalt line?
on at the upper portion of the screen there. There's, you can see there's a map. The yellow outline, if you can read it, is the boundary. And at the upper end of the screen, the boundary coincides with the town of Basalt municipal boundary.
Okay.
Their urban growth boundary doesn't actually
And
come
that's
out
the
beyond-
ranch at Roaring Fork. Is that the right?
It's right at the, it's right
their
at
property
the
line.
line between the ranch at Roaring Fork and Holland Hills subdivision there.
So we're thinking, what is it, a few miles or?
I don't know what the mileage is. Steve might know, between the Conoco there on the
It's
highway
about, well,
down.
it's basically 4 miles from Basalt to Snowmass. Yeah.
So roughly a 4-mile corridor there.
Does Basalt have an UGB? I thought they had a 3-mile area of influence or something.
They have both.
Oh, they do?
The 3-mile area of influence relates to their master plan. And by state statute, they're allowed in their municipal master plan to also look at a 3-mile area
Because I knew they
around.
had that circle thing, and they do have a UGB. I
They
wasn't
also
sure.
have, so yes, they do have a 3-mile planning area in their master plan addressed. But they also have an urban growth boundary area on this end of town. The municipal boundary butts up against Holland Hills. But the urban growth boundary does not come out in this direction.
So it probably ends at the municipal line, maybe?
On this end, I believe that's the case, yes.
Well, their other side of town's a little more complicated because of Willets and the annexation and the Forest Service and the...
Yeah, and we'll probably be coming back to you at some point with the Picken County portion on the other side of town, but we're taking it in small bites at this point.
Okay.
And our bike path, the Rio Grande Trail, is certainly within that entire planning area. I don't know if that comes up, but it looks as if it's within those boundaries, and don't know if there are any issues.
And that's why I said one of the things, we want to hear about anything that's working or not working there that we want to look at. But certainly the river runs through this corridor and the Rio Grande Trail also exists through this area. So access to either of those or open space.
I was going to say, we should bring open
parcels.
space into the discussion, because we have the Lazy Glen open space parcel, and
Yes.
pretty significant through there.
There is open space land within this boundary area, and they are involved.
I don't know if Healthy Rivers has projects there, but it wouldn't, I'd say let's put them on the contact list also.
They don't, but they might in the future on the Lazy Glen open space.
Maybe so.
But yeah, we hadn't brought them in yet, so.
It's a good
And
idea.
RAFTA as well, right? RAFTA's managing and operating the,
No, we
No,
don't.
Picken County does that section
We
of
do.
trail.
oh, really? RAFTA's not part of that? Okay.
They're further down valley
But RAFTA will absolutely be part of the discussion because.
because of the bus stops.
They've got bus
there are
stops
bus
in there.
stops
right.
there. I'm guessing we'll get some feedback about access to transit. And CDOT actually owns, in addition to the state highway running through, they own a 50-acre parcel that's right along the highway there. So we'll be in touch with them as well.
It's interesting. It looks like the western southwest border of if it's right on the highway in that one little stretch. Is that correct? Is that what I'm looking at, or is that the river? There's just if you look down, there's the lower left-hand yellow boxed-in area. It looks like something touches. Is that touching the highway right there? So the boundary is kind of expansive around the road and the river, and then in that one section, it looks like it's right up
Yeah, it
against
goes
it.
right up. So, yes, and I think that was probably a property boundary line. And beyond that line, I can't, I think the snowmat, that might be where the Snowmass Capitol Creek Caucus boundary lies, and we didn't want to include any of the caucus boundaries
okay.
within this study area because master plans have already been completed for those areas.
Okay.
I could be
Thank
wrong,
you.
but I
Yeah,
think
just
that,
wondering about the
that
shape
was
of
the
it, yeah.
delineation there.
Well, thanks, Ellen.
Sure.
Anything
Thank
else?
you.
Questions?
I just have a question. Is there a predominant zoning in this area, or is it a real mixed bag?
Yes. The predominant zoning is AR10, which stands for agriculture residential, and it's 10 one dwelling unit per 10 acres is the zone density that's allowed within that zone district. As you know, that's the zoning that's been in place for a long time, and we do have some commercial, light industrial, and other uses along right adjacent to the highway that don't necessarily align with the underlying residential agricultural zoning. So that's one of the reasons we're taking a look at the area. These are uses that have been in place for many of them for a long time and seem to serve a good purpose. And so we may or may not be looking at zoning to see if any adjustments should be made.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it?
Great. Thanks,
Thank you.
Ellen.
Thanks,
One
Jen.
real quick, what is the zoning at the Conoco post office?
That is, I want to say B2. That is it. That has been
That's
zoned
that
to a
weird
business zone. That is not within this. That's actually covered in the Snowmass Capitol Creek Caucus Master Plan.
So it's just on the edge,
It is just here. I can put it back.
across the
Sorry.
intersection.
Um.
Because you got the park and ride on one side.
So I
It's hard
don't
to
have.
tell, still mess.
I don't have a pointer here, but so the Snowmass Conoco station. Is
Oh, it's right there.
My finger is.
Okay.
And, yeah, and the park and ride is also outside of this boundary. The boundary butts, this chunk
Where the
right
creek comes
here.
under the river, kind of where the creek goes under the road.
Yeah, and this chunk right here is actually 50 acres owned by CDOT. And that's, so,
Wow.
for what it's worth. So, yeah, the
That's
Conoco
interesting.
station is not included in this.
CDOT owns 50 acres right there?
CDOT
Do
owns.
they know that?
You know, I'm gonna contact them. I was surprised to see that as well.
There's a for sale sign right there.
Well,
There
I don't
is-
think the for sale sign is on the
The
CDOT
exit,
property.
there is a road over there off of the highway
Yeah,
and
it's
an
where the-
area that they sort of use for staging and it's kind of the entrance to the land that's for sale along
Okay,
Snowmass Creek.
that land's
But
further
that
up.
must be the CDOT land. I always
Yeah.
wondered about that, how that came to have a
park and
road
ride,
over
wouldn't
there.
Yeah, and I don't know if it provides access that might be a benefit in some way to another property or, so, yeah, we'll contact CDOT. I assume they know they own that 50 acres. You never know, so,
Surprise.
yeah. Is that, any other questions?
That's all I've got. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for that.
Thanks.
All
Only
right.
other thing I had for the board, just a quick reminder, I'm going to be out the balance of this week, dropping a kid off at school.
All right. Right.
Good luck to her.
I had an open discussion
And you.
item, only that we've, our electeds on our board and other staff, if they're interested, have been invited to an event. And I think I'll just run it through Charlotte. It's a local group that I think Gina Murdoch heads. It's called Lead with Love, and they have a seminar with an eminent consultant and advisor who works with corporations on, it's like a leadership program. I know nothing else about it, but I'll share this. I think I sent that to you already, John.
Yeah, I
September
got it this
19th and
morning.
20th. And the invitation has been extended, and I just want to make sure everyone knows about it if they're available.
Who's hosting?
The group is called Lead with Love, and they've been doing things with the Aspen Institute and the Aspen Yoga Society and other groups. And it's a seminar called Culture Shift. It'll be held at the Aspen Institute. It's on the 19th and 20th, and they have invited us to participate if we're interested and available. As an invitation, free of charge to, I guess, county staff and BOCC.
We have a joint meeting, don't forget, on the 19th with Snowmass Village.
Thank
Right.
you. Steve?
John, is that right?
One other open discussion item. There is a missing person case in Upper Capitol Creek area, and
That gentleman?
the sheriff's department has been spending a lot of staff time searching for the missing person. And I'm thinking with hunting season coming, there will be a lot of hunters hunting all over the area where the human, his human remains might be found by a hunter, very likely. And I think we should have some sort of a publicity or have a sign put up just to clue the hunters in to be looking if they find anything unusual, like bits of clothing, especially to notify the sheriff's department. And maybe just a sign right where the road turns from the pavement to dirt might be a good place to put that.
That's something we should ask Joey and Ron Ryan about.
Okay, anything else? All right, then I think we are adjourned, unless you've got something else for us.
Well, executive session.
I'll make
All
a
right.
motion to
for
go into
exec-
special meeting for executive session for the purposes of,
Philoha access
you don't have a regular,
dispute? What? Sorry?
you don't have a form yet?
I don't have a form in front of me yet. It's executive session regarding the Philoha access dispute, APSHA, as in CRS 246402-4B. That's we're going to do that at 2:45.
I'd like to just add advice from attorney. I don't know what the statute that is under.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll amend
And
my
that would
motion
be
to
in
add that.
relation to Federal Aviation Administration and Airport.
Okay.
So do we have to wait till 2:45, or can we go in?
No,
Okay.
I emailed John and said that we'd probably be up,
10
so.
minutes.
Yeah, let's do a 10
Sure,
minute.
we 10
So, okay,
minute
my
break.
motion is made.
Motion.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you,
Thanks,
Grassroots.
Grassroots.
That's it for the day.